mixes were just so dynamic back then, where you could really have multiple layers of loudness. Not so much anymore. Everything's kind of always loud, right? That cuts through like a knife. Bass part, nope, no chance. No chance. God, that's fat. Who wore it better? That's too easy. Welcome back to Low-End University. We're deep into this month's Who Wore It Better theme, where I take an original song, a well-known cover of it, put them side by side, and figure out who ultimately did it better, especially when it comes to the bass lines. Today's episode is another blind spot for me. I've never heard either version of the song It's My Life, originally by talktalk and later covered by No Doubt. But with a song this big, I wouldn't be surprised if this turns into one of those moments where I recognize it instantly but realize I never knew the song name or the artist. It's happened before, and it happened with my last episode on No Doubt with their song Spiderwebs. I didn't know the name or the band, but the second I started hearing it, I was like, oh, it's that song. I hear this in Walmart. And once I dug in, Tony Kanal's bass work stood out immediately and was chock full of tasteful restraint, smart groove choices, and parts that served the song instead of competing with it. So in these episodes, I'm especially curious how that approach translates. Does No Doubt change anything about the song? Does Tony reshape the bass lines? Does he need to? Or is the original blueprint already perfect? As for the band talktalk, I'm going in completely fresh. It's My Life is the title track from their second studio album, It's My Life. Released in 1984, the band emerged from the UK new wave and synth-pop scene, and this track would go on to become their signature song. The bassist on this track and album was Paul Webb, who actually used a fretless bass. So let's jump in with the original, It's My Life from talktalk, and then we'll go on and hear the No Doubt version and determine who wore it better. Off we go. I feel like I'm in a cave. Everything's so wet and just smeared together with that. Yeah, it's very 80s dated kind of dreamy sound, production especially, but there's so much attack on the things like the drums. It kind of wakes you up. I've always loved that style. It's nostalgic. I mean, I was born in the late 80s, but I didn't grow up on a lot of this stuff, especially more of this UK new wave stuff we've been getting into. Let me start that one over and get the kind of the key signature here. We're down in E flat.
Funny how I found myself in love with you.
Maybe it's just... Okay, down here in E flat, and I'm thinking about this fretless bass tidbit I read. What's interesting is the bass, maybe not yet, isn't leaning into that typical tendency that fretless bass players do, where they're just kind of going, they're just kind of like sliding in and out of everything. But everything else kind of is, especially these synths that's like the pitch bends are coming in and out really slowly. Maybe even the vocal just kind of rolling into the words, very understated. So I wonder if the bass is going to have any moment in the song where it joins in and just kind of, that smooth slide you get with a fretless, which I sold the only one I owned when I was like in my early 20s, like an idiot. I'm going to get one soon because there's so many fretless videos I've done in the course of the channel. It's been a while, but this is another one. I'm curious to see just how it's utilized here. But big fat bass line that kind of just feels like the footprint of the song. Like everything is just kind of oscillating in this big cave of reverb, and the bass is like the footsteps. Kind of that warm tempo you just kind of settle back into. I don't know. I don't recognize this yet. Maybe I won't. A subtlety happening here that the bass kind of jumps ahead in the chord progression, I would say a beat early. You kind of get this anticipatory note. So if the first chord is here in kind of an E flat minor, if you will, I'm going to pull some treble out actually and kind of give this a low mid boost. You don't want any, you naturally get less treble with a fretless. There's no buzz, no frets. You could still have treble with the right strings and EQ and such, but we're getting this really warm, I don't want to say synthy bass tone because it's very lively, but the uniformity you get in a bass tone when you pull away the irregularities of high end is just kind of what this is going for. So, man, I'd say even less than that. I might even scoop it a bit. A little more uniform now. Kind of jumps up to that F early, so it's like... kind of jumps a little early and kind of rolls into the progression. Not like the way everything else is rolling around. Okay, see where this goes. Ooh, I gotta roll into that change because something changed here. Almost like a pre-chorus. Yeah, right there. It goes on beat 4. 1, 2, 3. I gotta count it out again. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, a little early. Okay. I have heard it. I had to hear the chorus. And I've heard the No Doubt version now because I can hear Gwen Stefani's vocal. But nothing about this verse seemed familiar. And this is one of those cases where I know I've heard it just in the wild. You don't hear bass lines on Walmart speakers. So I get these comments like, you've definitely heard this. That's like saying, okay, do you remember the barista that gave you coffee in Starbucks across the country 10 years ago? I mean, we've met. Do I remember it? No. Some of these songs are kind of like that. Just have to hear that chorus. But yeah, there's so many times when I worked in retail in my 20s, I would hear songs and I would just be like, what song is that? Back when Shazam was coming around, you hold your phone up, like, damn it, is it going to pick it up? You have to go find a little white speaker box in the Walmart, or I worked at Lowe's Hardware at the time. Sometimes I'd find a song and I would go listen to it, download it on iTunes back in the mid-2000s, and I'd go, holy shit, you can't hear that bass line at all. There's a bass line. There's a whole like guitar part you can't really hear. So this is an instance of that. I recognize the chorus, but not the talk version. I just know I've heard the No Doubt version now. Yeah, it was a huge song. I mean, I couldn't ignore it. Okay, so roll into that. There's some musical things that are really interesting happening here. The chord progression's changed up a bit. Does it go up a half step? Ooh, just... it's a modulation. One more time. Ooh, that's like a circle of fifths thing, which is jarring in nature, and I think it's coming out of flats, like E flat. Maybe it goes to this. It goes to E major, I think. Hold on, I'm just speaking prematurely. Down to the G, if I got that right. Yeah, total circle of fifths there. Circle of fifths just meaning it's a pattern. It's like a chart you can look at, and it just basically divides all of the key signatures or all the notes and puts them in. I'm doing a terrible job explaining this off the top of my head. Circle of fifths means you can go from fifth to fifth to fifth to fifth, and it will loop around in a circle. It's cyclical and come back to the one note. So for example, if I start on C and go up a fifth to G, and then go up a fifth to D, and then go up a fifth to A, then up a fifth to E, and then up a fifth to B, then up a fifth to F sharp, and then up a fifth to C sharp, up a fifth to G sharp, up a fifth to D sharp, up a fifth to B flat or A sharp, up a fifth to F, up a fifth from F to C. It starts back over. So that's 12 times. I went through all 12 notes. So when you work that jarring sound into a piece, it has a familiarity to it, but it's also really a great way to transition. Like if you're trying to go from F sharp major to some other key and you don't know how to get there, this is a good way to do it sometimes. I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but it's a very distinct jarring sound tonal center wise. So we've been again here in E flat. Then we went to the E major. That kind of thing. I had to stop and crank the AC down. I was like sweating. It's already getting hot here in Louisiana. Okay. Let's roll into that again. I know we got a lot of song left, so let me just let it go for a bit. arpeggiated. Damn, that's good. Got dark there for a second. Everything kind of hollowed out. Back to the original key. I'm still undecided if that's a complete modulation. It has to be because I know I said I was going to let it go a while, but I don't want to lose what's going on here. So we had a nice kind of arpeggiated. This kind of thing here, really gluing it together. Nice lyrical bass line. Just linking it all together. Like hot links. Okay. Trying to figure out this musical move here. There's an example of where it jumps early. 1, 2. It's the and of 4. I just, again, I like that move. It's subtle bass player shit like that I just love. Because if it was all on the downbeats, yeah, it would work, right? But I like that little jump. One note can change the whole pulse of the groove, where it lands. Okay. I don't recognize the verses really at all. But I guess I've heard them. Okay, that's where the change happens. Even with an untrained musical ear, you should be able to hear that jarring. It just changes. And of course, it's signified by you can feel it going into a different song section. But there's also something more under the hood happening there. But maybe I'm overthinking it. Yeah. I could be overthinking this, but it might just be this case of like a common tone modulation, because we've been playing around with this G sharp. And then it kind of goes to the G sharp and it feels like now that's the third of E major. But in E major, some of these notes exist, especially the D sharp or the E flat, which we've been on, but F doesn't. So it's just one of those things where they don't necessarily give you all the data. And it doesn't matter necessarily, but just for the purpose of this video, again, I'm always just going to kind of nerd out on what's happening, but it just feels like I'd say the 4 chord, maybe in E flat minor, becomes the third of E major. Now we're in a new key, because then we're down in kind of C major, honestly. Circle of fifths, yeah, it's happening, but these are all notes in C major. Very clever, very well written. When things are really smooth like this, you know there was just some smarty pants stuff happening. Okay, here we go. The phrasing is tough. Is that a B flat there? The phrasing is kind of weird. It almost mimics what's happening loosely in the verses, where it's not, everything's not downbeat oriented. So it's a lot of that. So kind of getting where the downbeats hit. A little tricky. I don't want to rewind too much. very much like what was happening in the verses. And what I told you. So that's a really cool common thread to thread through. Like the bass player's like, I'm gonna keep that same jumping on the and of 4 a little bit. We're gonna roll with that theme into the chorus. And you wouldn't want to disrupt that groove for a song like this. This is kind of one of those, like, again, synth-pop, anthemic type things. The slightest disruption in the grid, if the listener's used to kind of feeling that, whether they know it or not, you're feeling that. Not the fret bus. You're feeling that same type of thing happen. So that stuff's important. It's very delicate for a song like this. You don't want to disrupt what's established. Okay. Then another layer rolls in here and it gets really intense. Like, you kind of think that chorus part you've heard so far was intense. Now it's like, man, mixes were just so dynamic back then where you could really have multiple layers of loudness. Not so much anymore. Everything's kind of always loud, right? Turn on pop music now. It's just everything's kind of loud all the time. I don't know. It's just the style and production. I wouldn't say either are more technically correct, but there was certainly more dynamic headroom in mixes back then. I always say if everything's loud, then is anything really loud? So here's a good example of that. You feel the chorus hit, right? And this is just a product of good arrangement. The verse is very dense. So naturally rolling into the chorus is going to have more of an impact with more layers, but then they go an extra notch. Things get louder. It's just good dynamics here. It feels loud now. Even bigger. Good stuff. Okay. Up a half step to B flat, which is honestly closer in proximity to where the verses were. So, got that B flat minor there now. It's real dark. And I'm really trying to take mental notes. Like, what's Tony Kanal going to do here? Again, this is one of those bass lines. Like, how much can you really disrupt this song and bass line? And I'm just kind of primed because I know how iconic the cover is. And it sounds very much similar, but I'm just curious to kind of, just wade through some of the obvious things and see what creative liberties might have happened. But Tony Kanal's a damn good bassist, so he could really add any sort of flair anywhere. Maybe it's the exact same. I don't know. This is why these are fun. Up to B flat here, it got darker. We're in this kind of open C major thing. Up here now. Okay. Up to B flat. That note he's going down to there. Anyway, the whole thing got a little darker. Got a little clever again. What was that? Okay, really. Just kind of riding it here. It's almost more like the verse part. I would call this maybe a bridge. We hadn't been in this key yet, but it got right back to the A minor thing, which C major. Okay. Just kind of rolled right into it. What I honestly think is happening here, this sounds like just a tritone jump. B flat, but they're writing so much on the F. Again, it's really hearing this B flat minor sound. But they're writing so much between the 1 and the 5 that when they land on the 5, it's a lot less jarring to go from F to E natural than from B flat to E natural, because that would be a tritone. So where the bass groove decides to change can really make something more natural to the ear. I think that's as simple as that right here. Versus totally different, right? We're going from the same chord to the same chord. It's just what note do I walk out the door on? So now it's this sort of kind of right back where we were. Man, really clever stuff. I love these cold, clinical synths. I don't know if it's something about the reverb, the way they just kind of have this, just kind of like, it's gloomy, not in musicality. I think gloomy in production. Just a really interesting texture for sure. Okay, like all this stuff, right? There's something just sterile about it. Haven't even talked about all these cool little guitar punches and stabs. I mean, there's always so much immersiveness to these mixes. Synth pop, new wave, just all the stuff from that era. I'm so infatuated with on a production level. This is no exception. Okay, let's ride it out. Yeah, right back to it. I like how the groove changes here too. There's that subtle shift there where it's not so bump, 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 bump. Kind of has this almost legato, kind of this, not necessarily literally, but just kind of bang, bang, like long, short, more than articulations of the notes. It changes the groove a lot. These subtleties are super important to point out. It's my life. Okay, off to No Doubt's version. I mean, you can hear how much of that song's identity lives within its atmosphere, the synth textures, the space, and that steady foundation underneath it all. But let's see what No Doubt has to say about it. Less on the surface, more as I kind of wade through the nuances. But first, their cover was released in 2003 on the compilation, the Singles 1992 to 2003 album. At the time, the band was on hiatus, while Gwen Stefani worked on her solo album, Love Angel, Music Baby. So instead of writing a new song, they chose to record a cover. After narrowing down hundreds of possibilities to just a few finalists, the contenders included this track, In Excess's Don't Change, and even Depeche Mode's A Question of Lust. I mean, I don't think I've heard any of those songs either. But on bass, once again, is the great Tony Kanal, whose groove instincts and melodic restraint helped define No Doubt's sound. And vocally, I know this will be quite an evolution, considering Gwen Stefani is stepping into a song originally delivered with that cool, kind of detached, understated new wave vocal thing and filtering it through her, her own emphatic style. So without further ado, I'm going to get more familiar with No Doubt's version of It's My Life. Whoa.
It's funny how I find myself in love with you.
Ooh, this is going to be tough. It's just really good too. I feel like they've captured a whole different thing. Like the sound design is very different. It's a lot fatter. I talk about in these videos a lot. I mentioned it in my episode for Kajagoogoo's Too Shy. It's just this, those 80s productions kind of lacked bass a bit. They weren't boomy. They had this more mid-range approach. So things cut through and popped out in different ways. It's kind of that fat, I don't want to say like dance or club type of thing, but it just has that fatter groove happening. The bass tones, boomier. It's got a little drive on it. These are things you can't hear in the grocery store. So yes, I'm hearing this for the first time. Only Gwen's vocals are what sound familiar. Okay, I'm going to go back. I'm going to turn the drive channel on.
It's funny.
You don't want overdriven, but you can get a little of that kind of fuzziness happening. I turn the edge way down. And, you know, I dare say bump the bass. Bump is just kind of this bass boost. Maybe some more edge. I know this is more of like a synth play, more of like an electronic effects thing, but I think I'm going to get it more of an analog way here. It kind of has something in that character, right? That's kind of just what I'm going for. Maybe let's roll with that. I think we're actually just an E here. So a half step up from the verse of the previous original. Yeah. Same groove, more or less.
Funny how I
Still jumps those notes. I'm going to pull the mids actually out of my bass a little bit too, because that's kind of like my last resort. Yeah, not too worried about getting the right tone, of course, but it's fun when you can get it close.
It's funny how I find myself in love with you. If I could find my
They're really respecting the delicate nature, again, of the sound design. You hear these little things coming in. My left channel, that would be over there if you're watching me on the screen. You hear these little subtle guitar things coming in. Something I didn't talk about enough in the last video, but there was a lot of that going on too. It's like you don't know it's there. You only know it's there if it just was taken out or something. That's the beauty in layering. It affects your perception of the song in ways you don't realize. Right here.
find my reasoning, I pray to lose.
Okay.
One half won't do. Ask myself, how much do
You know, I also think what's more iconic here is this guitar part. I did talk about Talk Talk as their chorus blossomed. It had more layers, but I feel like it was more of a synth play. So maybe, kind of speaking unsuredly here, what was all in that layer, but I know this guitar part is what really makes this stand out. Like that's what I hear. That's what I remember hearing in the grocery store. That cuts through like a knife. Bass part, nope, no chance. No chance. You really just hear the hi-hat, the vocal, and that guitar part. I think this modernizes it a bit. I think obviously the previous recording feels dated to its time, which is okay. This has more of that modernization. That's the first thing I noticed so far. Bassline wise, I think it has a different tone, but just very true to the framework of the original. The same accents. And yeah, everything's up a half step here from the original. So instead of that chorus being in, we're kind of here in B flat now. Still the circle of fifths thing, which is a little trickier with that particular key. I can't use those open strings like last time. So let's see what's happening.
myself? Ask myself, how much do commit yourself? Who is my life? Don't you forget.
God, that's fat. Yeah, this is brand new to me. Just hearing the full hi-fi version. Man, that sounds like a buzzsaw. Whew, this is a tough one. This is gonna be a tough one. Who wore it better? This is well done. And you know, as soon as I heard the chorus in the last song, I thought, okay, it isn't gonna be a mystery how Gwen Stefani has delivered these verses because now the song is coming into view, right? So she has a quite the range of dynamics. Real velvety in the verses, right? Now she gets a little more shrill and emphatic. She can really project. So I got to go back and hear this. The production is fantastic here, like a flawless mix.
myself.
Bass is cranking and loud. That's why it's flawless.
How much do you commit yourself? Who is my life? Don't you forget. It's my life. It never ends.
There's that wah pedal kind of filter thing happening. Is it a synth? Is it all guitar? I'm not the best at picking those things out. This really nasty synth kind of envelope filter thing happening there could just be a lot of things in unison, but it's fat. These things, again, do not translate over the PA speakers. So this is great.
It's my life. Don't you forget. It's my life.
I need like a total synth bass thing happening here. Ian Martin Allison, give me that synth bass pedal. I need it for this song. I need it for this video. This is different. Okay, this is the first more distinct thing. It could just be because of the sounds they used, but I don't remember being quite, I don't know, the bass did a different little slide thing here. Nothing too different, but enough to remember. Let's see. Was that slide up thing? A little different. Kind of an awkward start back into the vocals here, which is really cool. Everything's been so rigid and groovy. So I like this hollow space in the song. The vocals just kind of start. Nothing really goes, hey, here's the next verse. It's just kind of right into it. I felt that's a bit different from the other one. Short-term memory's fading fast, but cool. Okay. Kind of leave the bass out for a minute. That's kind of just starts back into it. You have to be so delicate, and I don't have the notes fully down yet. It's in the scale. I'd waste a lot of time trying to get them all exactly right. Trying to get the chord changes. Still catching that upbeat and a 4. But if you listen down, when they go down right on this, I'd say G flat. It's not. It's kind of has this rigidity to it, which is very characteristic of the rest of the bass line. I think it's an homage to the character of the original song to kind of keep that bounce in there, which Paul, previous bass player, talktalk, leaned into that a lot. You almost have to mute the notes right as you play them. I mean, if you were playing it with a pick, it would be easier. I don't have the final verdict on who's using a pick or not. I would imagine the fretless wasn't. So to get that same approach, you kind of want this kind of. You can't just go. That's too long. And that same concept applies to what I was saying back in the talk video. Long, short. Short, long, short, that kind of thing. And so the articulations are just everything in this song. We haven't done songs like this in a while on the channel. I'm pretty stoked. This is a lot of fun. Okay. able to get those notes. I hadn't really paid attention. But damn, the production here. I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with that chainsaw, snarly pig kind of thing happening here. Oh, it just makes it so gritty. But not like a overdrive kind of way.
Don't you forget who is my life. It never ends.
Okay. Same move as the original. Up, it gets darker. You know, we've been in this B flat, goes up to B minor now. I feel like the bass is pulsing a bit more than the last time. Maybe the groove's slightly different. You know, if it's the fifth or it's the third or if it's the octave, you know, I'm not going to get too in the weeds on that minutia, but the play here is this recreating what the original had, the hollowness I was talking about. Everything's more of a guitar play here, I feel like. Synths are there to kind of nod like, hey, this is, you know, synth pop, new wave. More in the middle 2000s, right? I don't know when they recorded it. Was it 92, 2003? I forgot what I said. This is leaning into more of the auxiliary sounds a guitar can make, the plinky stuff. I feel like there's harmonics. There's even little things back there going. It's like some plinky guitar thing. So that just in general modernizes it. Same thing, right back into.
And I ask myself, how much do you I commit yourself? Who is my life? Don't you forget.
Dang it, I just had it. It's a little tricky note change here because it's very scalar. Did he change a part there? Maybe just went up higher.
Ask myself, how much do you
Something like that.
commit yourself? Who is my life? Don't you forget.
There it is.
Caught in the crowd. It never ends. Here's my life. Don't you forget.
Why is it so fun to play? Man, that was a blast. That was a blast of an episode. Yeah. What's cool about this is it's a unique thing that happens in an episode where you hear it, because I do blind reactions 99% of the time, right? You hear a song and you're like, I have heard this, but I didn't hear this much of it when I heard it. You know, what sticks in your mind isn't the full frequency spectrum of everything happening. So this was equal parts brand new, equal parts familiar. So it was a bit of like playing on what I knew. Man, that was just a really fun way to experience that song. I've never listened to it in headphones. I've only heard it in the wild. And I've never heard the talk version. So let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Who wore it better? That's too easy. No doubt. No doubt it's No Doubt. I think it just has to do with the perfection on the production. I think Gwen Stefani is just, what little I know of the band, everything I've heard, her voice is so great. You know, I first heard her music, Don't Speak, right? That's the big one. I used to play that in cover bands. I remember thinking back to the writing on that song and had some really interesting chord progressions. It's an earworm, right? She has a signature voice. So as soon as I heard the Talk version's chorus come in, I just heard Gwen's voice. So I'm glad they picked the song. Again, I'm curious what the other contenders sounded like, but this was really well done by their style. I love just hearing them take a more modern guitar. I don't want to say less digital approach to it, but it kind of was in their own way, relying on the guitar, plinky plink, scratchy stuff for more of that dreaminess. But the production, the groove was just so much more punchy, with the low end being a bit more present. the drum beat being a bit more up front, fatter kick drum and such. And yeah, it's a classic case of taking a cover, just really making it better in all the right ways. And no shade to Talk Talk. That was a great version. There's something so iconic about that 80s sound that those bands created with their sound design. Like, it just created a mood. It's so hard to describe here on camera. I don't know. It's like you close your eyes and everything's just kind of floating around. Terrible explanation, but that's what that sound makes me think of. They were able to capture something. Anytime I hear music from that era, it just takes me back to that thing I'm seeing. But no doubt, just crush this. I don't know. It's just a really well done take on it. But thank you guys again for hanging out with me. Again, we're really deep into this Who Wore It Better theme. We have 4 or 5 more episodes coming up this month. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell notification so you know. But first, please come support the channel. If you enjoy what I do, it's patreon.com/LowenUniversity. We have an amazing community. If you like what I do full albums over there each month. I have bass lessons, music theory lessons, and just everything I've done just about on videos over there. So come hang out. Love you all. See you in the next one.